Hello everyone. This week I have a special set of books for us. Jan Brett is an author who is kind of known for her beautiful illustrations, and she happens to have quite a few Christmas books. So this week I'm going to be reading 5 Jan Brett Christmas books, and they're just so lovely, and I just can't wait for you to hear them all. You're just going to love them. So the first book up in our series is called The Wild Christmas Reindeer. We have our title page. Here's a note from the author, and we've got a bunch of reindeer. And one thing to note about any Jan Brett book is she always has illustrations on the sides of her books that tell little stories of their own. So I'm going to read the book and then we'll check out the sides, or read the main page. Tika was excited and a little afraid. This year Santa had asked her to get the reindeer ready to fly on Christmas Eve. Tika had never done this before, and she wanted everything to be perfect. Tika lived up in the Arctic in the shadow of Santa's winter farm. The last of the snow geese had flown south, and everyone's mind was on Christmas. The workshop was alive with the sounds of saws sawing, hammers hammering, and brushes painting as they all worked to have the toys and presents ready for delivery on Christmas Eve. So in this book, the story on the side is all about the elves working to make different toys. So here we have them making alphabet blocks and characters. This is called a dollahorse, and they're common in the Nordic countries. And over here, it says December 1st on the calendar. We have a nesting doll, and it looks like a teeter-totter. Some beautiful gifts for Christmas. Tika knew it was time for her to go in search of the reindeer. They had been out in the tundra wild and free since last Christmas, and Tika was sure they wouldn't want to go back to the winter farm to train. She would have to be strong and firm. At last she found them, bramble and heather, windswept and lichen, snowball, crag, twilight, and tundra. So she's worried these reindeer have been roaming around free and probably don't want to go back to work. So she said, I have to be strong and firm. So here on December 2nd, it looks like they're making some gingerbread. We've got a gingerbread cookie. Over here we have a gingerbread tree. Looks delicious. Tika took a deep breath and shouted, "Let's go! Move, move, move!" The reindeer were bewildered by Tika's voice. Their heads went up to see who this loud creature was. But they let her herd them together and headed back towards Winter Farm. Tundra gave her the most trouble. Tika didn't know that he considered himself the leader and was not used to be bossed around. He liked to stay next to Twilight, but she was separated from him and running near the front. When they got to the barn, Tika put them in different stalls. Tundra snorted impatiently. So Tika doesn't really know what these reindeer are used to. They kind of have their own dynamics, who they like to be with, who they consider the leader, and she's just kind of bossing them all together. So there they are, kind of a little bit of a mess, and there's Winter Farm in the background. Let's see what the elves are up to. We've got December 4th. Looks like they're making cuddly stuffed animals. Here we have December 5th. Oh, look at that cute little teddy bear. By the next morning, Tika went into the barn. All the reindeer were restless and upset. Lichen was frightened of Crag, who kept nipping at him. Bramble was so worried she drove Heather wild. And Twilight kept calling out to Tundra, who was just plain angry and stamping his hooves. Oh, we've got a bunch of reindeer not in a good mood. They don't like what is happening. Let's see what the elves are making. Oh, they're knitting things. Using some yarn, they knit a hat and some cozy socks. Very lovely. It's December 6th and 7th. Tika groomed each reindeer. She wanted them to look sleek and glossy for Santa. One by one, she brushed and combed their coats and pulled and pushed their tangled manes. She brushed so long that their ears started to turn pink. Oh. Yeah, maybe you've experienced that where your hair is very, very tangled and your mom or dad or whoever wants you to look nice, and you have to brush all those tangles out, and it doesn't feel very good, does it? Well, now the reindeer know exactly how that feels. The elves look like they're making stuff for dolls. We've got December 8th and December 9th. Tika took the reindeer outside. Now she was ready for the real training to begin. Snowflakes danced in the air. She tried to stand them in two lines and put them in their harnesses, but they wouldn't stay lined up. She had put Tundra in the back and Heather at the front with Twilight, so he kicked at Heather, who then bolted into Bramble. Tika scolded the reindeer. "Don't move!" she cried. But they all ran off wild-eyed. She'd have to go after them and bring them back. Oh, no. She's not getting the order right, and the reindeer are not participating. What a bunch of chaos, isn't it? Looks like December 10th, they're making candy canes, melting sugar, putting the colors together, and then hanging them to dry on December 11th. Delicious. The next day, Tika harnessed the reindeer in the barn before taking them out to the snow. Everything went right until she got them lined up outside. She tried to steer them to the left and then to the right to make the sleigh fly, they would need to pull together smoothly, but everything went wrong. Tundra crashed into Heather, Snowball blew up at Rambo, Windswept knocked over Twilight, and then Lichen locked antlers with Crag. Oh. I have to say, Tika is really trying. She said, well, last time they all ran free when I tried to harness them, so I'm going to do it in the barn. But it's just not coming together right. She's just not understanding what they want and need, is she? So December 12th, oh, they're making rocking horses. Look at how beautiful they've painted them. And then we have December 13th. We've got other animals that they've created. What animals do you see? Yeah. "Stop!" Tika cried as she watched the reindeer paw the air. "Unhook!" she shouted as they tried to free their antlers. Then Lichen and Crag fell over into the snow. The harder they pulled, the more their antlers locked. The reindeer were frantic, and Tika only made it worse by yelling at them. Oh, it's just kind of a really high emotion moment. Everyone's feeling, Tika's yelling because she's feeling flustered and frustrated, and the antlers are locked up, and the more they fight, the more they get locked up together. Oh, what a disaster. Meanwhile, the elves are making beautiful trains on December 14th and December 15th. I want to pause here and think, what do you think Tika should do in this situation? Yeah, sometimes it's hard to take a step back and think, okay, I see the problem. I need to think of a solution, but sometimes you just get so wrapped up in the problem you can't even see the way out. Let's keep reading and see what Tika does. Tundra and Heather rushed to help, but the antlers did not break free. Windswept nudged at Lichen, and Bramble ran into Crag, but the more they tried to help, the more they got tangled up themselves. Their necks strained, their muscles bulged, and their antlers did not budge. Tika wailed, "Oh, please, it's almost Christmas Eve!" But the reindeer could not move. A frosty silence hung in the air. You know, I'm really kind of relating to Tika here. Maybe she didn't make all the best choices yet, but she's got a lot of pressure that she's putting on herself. When she said that line, "Oh, please, it's almost Christmas Eve," she wanted so badly for everything to go right that her pressure and her yelling kind of made everything go wrong, didn't it? She didn't mean to hurt them, I don't think. I think she just wanted it to be a great Christmas because it was her first time and she wanted to show Santa, I can do it. I can do a great job at this. She put a lot of pressure on herself to be perfect. Let's take a look at the side photos. It looks like the elves are making wreaths and Christmas trees. Very lovely. But look at this tangled mess of the reindeers. Oh. Tika looked at the tangled reindeer, once so bold and free, and began to cry. It's my fault, she said. I've spent all my time yelling at you instead of helping. I'm sorry. And one by one, she gave each reindeer a hug. Tomorrow, she said, we'll go to work in a new way. No yelling, no screaming, and no bossing. I promise. Let me try to help you get free. Yeah, Tika had to kind of take that step back and be like, I'm sorry for yelling at you. I just really wanted Christmas to go well, but I'm sorry. And I promise to try better. Let me help you. I think what a hard thing to do sometimes, to recognize that maybe we made a mistake and we need to apologize. But a good thing, and she says, I'm going to keep trying. Let's keep trying together. Let's work this out. And I think that's a great attitude. And I'm really proud of Tika. December 18th, we have a whole bunch of oranges. And December 19th, looks like they're making very beautiful clocks and watches. The reindeer listened to this new voice. Heather's eyes sparkled. Crag cracked a reindeer grin. Bramble giggled and Snowball sighed. Tundra laughed and Twilight smiled. The more they laughed, the more they shook, and as they shook, their antlers rattled and rubbed. And before Tika could do anything, she heard a spring, sprung, sprung sound, and it was the antlers jiggling free. So as everybody sort of relaxed about the situation, instead of fighting and tossing and tumbling and fighting to get out, they all kind of just relaxed and their antlers came free. Sometimes that's what we need in a situation where we're feeling really frustrated and overwhelmed. We just need to let our bodies calm down and it'll sort out without us having to fight about it. The elves are busy making some musical instruments on the 20th, and on the 21st, they're collecting a bunch of books. Looks like a lovely book about Christmas and hedgehogs. Quietly, Tika led the reindeer back to the barn. She sleeked their coats. She gently brushed their ears and combed out their manes. Tundra nuzzled her cheek. So now this time, she still wants them to look beautiful, but she's a little bit more gentle. And the reindeer are a little bit more accommodating as well. Oh, the elves are busy on the 22nd, wrapping up gifts so beautiful, as well as the 23rd. The next day, the reindeer lined up in 2 lines, ready for the harness. Twilight and Tundra leading the line. They practiced turning left, they practiced turning right. Tika directed them softly. Tundra pulled for Twilight. Bramble was gentle to Lichen. Windswept helped Heather, and Snowball nestled against Crag. Together, they practiced long and hard. They didn't notice that it was getting dark and almost didn't hear a jingle in the distance. It was Santa, standing by the sleigh, piled high with presents and ready to go. So we've got all the elves. They've been working all year round. Now they get to watch Santa take off on December 24th, Christmas Eve. And there's Santa. And there's an actual working, well-oiled machine of the reindeer working together so that they can deliver all those presents. They did a great job turning things around, didn't they? Now the reindeer were ready too, and Tika led them to the sleigh. Santa smiled and nodded thanks. He climbed aboard and waved to Tika, who watched as the wild reindeer rose up together and carried the sleigh off into the night. So there's the can see some elves in that building. There's our lovely reindeer team pulling Santa through the sky. I think Tika's probably feeling incredibly proud of them and of herself for all the work they did. And here we have Tika in bed. It says Merry Christmas and her stocking is full. Oh, how beautiful. I hope you enjoyed that story about the wild Christmas reindeer. It's a good reminder that sometimes we all get really frustrated, and maybe you've had your parent feel like they were yelling at you too much, or your teacher, but we have to remember, or even maybe you have been yelling at your sibling or a friend, because sometimes when we get really frustrated, we don't make the best choices, right? But we have to be forgiving to one another and of ourselves. We have to take a step back, stop, pause, ask ourselves, what do I really need to be doing right now? And how can I make this situation better? And oftentimes we just need a moment to breathe. Just like the reindeers when they were all tangled up in a big mess. They just had to calm down. Tika had to calm down, stop yelling, say, I'm sorry when I made a mistake. I have to apologize and say, let's all just calm down. And as they did, the problem sorted itself out. And that's how it so often happens. But Christmas, I find, can be a time where there's a lot of pressure to make things just so or just perfect and go just a certain way. And we can feel upset when it doesn't happen just the way we want. We just gotta take a step back, breathe, and remember, we're here to have fun. We're here to make Christmas special, right? And I hope you have a very special Christmas, and I hope you enjoyed this Jan Brett book, and I hope you look forward to the next ones coming up soon. Thanks, and have a terrific day. See you soon.